Keeping Damian Hauschultz's 20-year prison sentence in place while adding to his extended supervision for the death of 7-year-old Ethan Hauschultz. Damian pleaded no contest 5 years ago to first-degree reckless homicide, but was back in court after resentencing for a conflict of interest that was discovered involving the original judge. In a First Alert update, Samantha Cavalli brings us the latest updates from inside the courtroom.
It was an emotional resentencing hearing as Ethan Hauschultz's family asked the judge not to reduce Damian Hauschultz's sentence, saying they've been living the last 8 years with unimaginable pain.
There are no words that can truly explain what losing my son has done to my family. There are no words that can explain what it feels like to know that a child you carried, loved, and dreamed for was taken from you.
The case dates back to 2018 when prosecutors say 7-year-old Ethan was physically abused by Damian Hauschultz, who was 14 at the time and buried in a snowbank, leading to his death. Prosecutors say the punishment was ordered by Damian's father, Timothy Hauschultz, who is also charged with felony child neglect resulting in death and child abuse. The defense argued Damian was a child when it happened and has shown growth in prison. Now 22 years old, Damian apologizing before the court.
I never intended for him to die. Not even once did that thought cross my mind or enter my mind. But here we are today, and all I can say is that I'm very sorry for what happened, and I wish that it hadn't.
But prosecutors called the offense extremely serious, saying Damian used violence when Ethan struggled. Everett told the court each proceeding forces the family to relive Ethan's death.
You already took the most precious thing I had. You took Ethan, and now years later you're asking for less time instead of accepting the consequences of what you did.
The judge kept Damian's 20-year prison sentence with credit for time already served, but increased his extended supervision from 10 years to 15.
Ethan deserved protection, Ethan deserved love, and Ethan deserved to live.
The judge also ordering Damian to write a letter to Ethan's mother during his 5th year of incarceration. This now clears the way for his father's trial, which begins in October. Reporting in the Fox Valley Newsroom, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.